I'm Crystal Faulkner with the CPA and Business Advisory firm of Cooney, Faulkner and Stevens. We're here today with Tony Shipley. Tony is the chairman of the Queen City Angels. And Tony, the Queen City Angels have been around for several years, and I know that you all invest in early stage companies, startup companies, but let's talk about the economic impact and the number of jobs that's resulted because of the Queen City Angels here in our community.
You're right, Crystal. We've been around a little over a decade now. And in that period of time, we've invested in 51 companies that has created literally hundreds of jobs in our community. The total economic impact of those that we've invested in those companies, it's $30 million roughly of our own money. That's been supplemented with about $60 million of direct co-investment money. And then for the companies that really had good ideas, they've been follow-on rounds of venture capital money. So the total impact economically has been about $180 million that's been invested in these companies.
And Tony, I know you are individually a very successful entrepreneur who started a company and then ultimately sold it. And so your passion around this entrepreneurship and around creating wealth for others is pretty contagious. Why are you so committed to this?
Well, for a lot of reasons. I spent 30 years in the entrepreneurial space and started up 3 companies in that time period, so it's kind of in my blood. And I saw it as an opportunity to really give back to our community. As I sold the last company and thinking about what to do next, it became obvious to me that there was a funding gap to help small companies get started in our community. And by virtue of that need, we set up the Queen City Angels to become an organized group of investors in the local community. And then on a personal basis, it's important because I've got 2 young adult kids, and one has its own business and the other is working one of our startups. So I think it's pretty important to provide those kinds of job opportunities in our community for the next generation of kids.
Absolutely, especially in this day and time when so many people don't have the opportunities. Many people have lost their jobs, can't find a job, especially young people. And so our whole country, in my heart, was built on this whole spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation. And so what you're doing is fabulous. Let's talk about what's next for the Queen City Angels.
Well, we want to continue to be involved heavily in developing the region from a business startup standpoint and assisting early stage companies. We are interested in continuing to expand the growth of our group. The more people that we bring in with different types of backgrounds help us do a better job of picking companies and doing due diligence on those companies. And of course, as we look at those investment opportunities, in order to make that happen, we need a larger pool of capital. So we're interested in finding more businesses that are fundable and expanding our group so that we can be a bigger contributor to those companies on a go-forward basis.
Well, Tony, thank you for being my guest and for everything you do in the community. We're going to continue our conversation with Tony Shipley on WCPO.com. Well, Tony, let's talk about the types of companies that you do invest in. Is there certain criteria of industries that you choose to make your investments?
Generally, the primary consideration is whether or not the company is a high growth enterprise potential. In other words, we want those companies that can create real strategic value. So when it comes exit time, the acquiring company will look at that and place a strategic valuation on that company. What that does mean is that we don't invest in lifestyle companies, even though there are a predominance of lifestyle companies in our community and around the country. We primarily are looking for those companies that can provide that strategic growth component, and that specifically means companies around the IT space, information technology, or companies that are focused on life science applications, for example.
Well, and with the economy where we've been over the last few years, I'm just curious, have you seen an increase or a decrease in opportunities for investing?
Yeah, actually, I think when the economy goes down, there are more people that have been thinking about entrepreneurship, starting their own company, and I think it gives a lot of folks an opportunity to actually go out and experiment with a startup. In the last 3 or 4 year period since we've been in this downturn in the economy, we've actually funded as many, if not more, new businesses than we have done in the history of our organization. And we've also been involved in funding additional rounds of capital to bridge those companies to a meaningful trigger that can allow them to get maybe a VC round of capital that comes in on top of our money.
You know, I've personally been involved with you in my business as a CPA, and it's not just about providing capital, is it? Queen City Angels get a little more actively involved with their investment companies.
No, I think that's a key criteria for us. When we look at new members, it's not about just having the wherewithal. Of course, they have to be able to write the checks to invest, but it's equally important to have the passion to go out and help these companies and to want to be involved in that process that we use to vet a company from the initial screening to all the due diligence that has to be done, and then eventually taking a board position, for example, to help those companies in a growth phase. So it's really all about that whole write to check and then help the company through that growth phase.
And if people watching today are interested in learning more, either about the investment opportunities for the Queen City Angels to invest in their companies or to be a member of the Queen City Angels, how would they go about finding that information?
Oh, that's pretty easy. We have a website, it's qca.com, or they can go to another website, c-cap.net, and they'll find all the information about our organizations right there.
Well, Tony, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you, Crystal.